Training camp is here. The new kickoff rules. They could be the most important thing for the next couple of weeks. Why there's a historic, very, very important local storyline in front of us in the next coming weeks, and why CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, Stefon Diggs, and all the other more intriguing headlines might actually be taking a back seat when it comes to the importance. Go inside the locker room. Training camp is here, baby.
Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock.
Next couple of weeks are going to shape up a lot of things when it comes to the fate of the Houston Texans. And this is going to be a league-wide type of thing. We've talked a lot about CJ Stroud. We've talked a lot about Stefon Diggs. We're going to continue to do so. I will be on the scene at training camp. There will be daily videos throughout the day, throughout the season, same time slot, night time slot, all that. We're going to have you covered. We're going to be going to a lot more games, and we're going to continue to improve the overall digital product. But all this excitement, all this buzz about the Texans and CJ Stroud, Stefon Diggs, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, it takes a back seat in the next couple of weeks for me when it comes to the most important things that are going to take place in front of us at the practice field. And the new kickoff rules are going to be the most important thing. Look, we know CJ Stroud can ball. We know Stefon Diggs can ball. We know the Texans offense can put up points. We know Bobby Slowick, regardless of whatever the growing pains are going to be, we know he can call a game. We know D'Amico Ryans can call a defense. We know Danielle Hunter can get after the quarterback. We know that there might be some intriguing position battles and all that, but for the most part, you have a pretty good idea and you have a healthy amount of confidence because we've seen those guys in the same format do what they're going to be asked to do in two of the three phases, defense and offense. A lot of times when you hear three phases, you kind of roll your eyes because a small portion of kicks are going to be returned in the NFL. And if the kicker and punter are doing their thing, then for the most part, you're pretty set. But with these new kickoff rules, now there's an amount of uncertainty. There's an amount of unfamiliar territory. Frank Ross, who's overseen the best special teams, some of the best special teams in the NFL the last few years, we've never seen him coach this. We've seen Bobby Slowick call an offense. We've seen D'Amico call a defense. We've never seen Frank Ross coach this. The good news is that he is good at what he does, and he does pay attention to detail, and he is fiery, and he has had success given the card that he's been dealt, but we've never seen him coach this. There's a lot of questions about this new kickoff rule, but first let's kind of let's open our minds and get some information on the new kickoff rules explained. Good Morning Football did this in a very efficient manner. So let's just listen in on this before we get into the localized things to look at when it comes to this very, very important next couple of weeks for the Texans. This is Good Morning Football laying it out for us.
This is a lot here. All right, the kicking team is going to kick off from their own 35-yard line. The 10 members of the kicking team are going to line up on the receiving team's 40-yard line. A minimum of 9 members of the receiving team are going to line up between the 30 and 35-yard lines. Play is going to begin when the ball is either caught or hits the ground in the landing zone or is returned from the end zone. Any kick that hits the landing zone has to be returned. Any kick that bounces from the landing zone into the end zone must be returned or down by the receiving team for a touchback and takes possession at its 20-yard line. If a kick fails to reach the 20, the receiving team takes possession at its own 40-yard line. If the ball enters the end zone in the air, the receiving team can return it or down it and take possession at its own 30. If the ball goes out of bounds, the receiving team takes possession at its own 40-yard line. Here's an important note. There is no fair catch. Also, there are no onside kicks in the first 3 quarters. Onside kicks are permitted in the 4th quarter, but only by the team trailing, and it has to be reported to the officials.
All right, so there you go. I mean, so there's an entire new approach for the kicker. There's a new approach for the return team. The traditional touchback now goes to the 30. Not kicking it in the landing zone goes to the 40. So there's a lot to tackle there. There's a hell of a lot to tackle there. And there's a lot of questions as we localize it, as we do, because this is a Texans channel. It is the locker room. there's a few questions when it comes to the Texans that I think we need to pay attention to. The good news for Texans fans is you have Frank Ross, who's established himself as a very, very good special teams coach. So that's the good news. You have a very good special teams coach in Frank Ross. Now, how's he going to coach it? Is he going to coach it well? He's never done it. There's reason for optimism, but it's something new. Is the personnel lined up well enough? How will the roster be impacted? You have a lot of receivers that sometimes they don't play special teams. How much more important is it to have special teams contributors? Because not only is the return going to be important, the coverage is going to be just as important. So how does the roster get impacted? How does Frank Ross coach it? Who's going to return kicks? Is it going to be Damian Pierce? Is it going to be Steven Sims? Who are we going to see returning these kicks? How is Fairbairn going to fare? See what I did there? Ka'imi Fairbairn has been hurt more than most kickers the last few years. I don't think you want Ka'imi Fairbairn. I don't think you want him making tackles. And he's also probably going to have to put a little bit more practice time into kicking off. I mean, in the past, it was basically pretty routine. Kick it as far as you can and kick it out of the back of the end zone, and the other team takes the touchback and they move it up. Now, how is Fairbairn going to handle that? The kicker was involved in a large portion of tackles. Does Dare Agumbawale get a look at this? Can he consistently kick it into that landing zone? Because if you don't kick it into that landing zone, they're damn near at midfield. There's a lot of questions here. And as good as we expect the Texans offense to be, and I think a lot of us, even the ones that might have the most pessimism on the defense, you feel like it's not going to be terrible. Special teams is going to play a huge factor in things for the Houston Texans. Here's the beauty of it. And here's the beauty of the next couple of weeks. You got camp beginning tomorrow. So we're going to get a 2-week look at what that looks like. And then on August 1st in the Hall of Fame game in Ohio, we're going to get the first look, and the nation's really going to get the first look at what this looks like in an NFL game format. So I got to figure that this is going to be coached extremely hard by Frank Ross, and they're going to have to look at this a hell of a lot. Then they're going to get to look at it on game tape and see what it looks like, and then they're going to have to figure out how it shapes up. Because with all that said, I mean, it would be a damn shame if with all this excitement we have, you feel like you might have an elite quarterback, you feel like you might have one of the best receiving cores in the NFL, you feel like you have perhaps the best, one of the best edge duos in the NFL, you have one of the best young head coaches, you have talent around the roster, you feel better about the offensive line, it feels like the coach likes the defensive line. It would be a damn shame if that third phase, which is often overlooked, came back to bite the Texans. Good news is you got Frank Ross. Other good news is you get extra looks at it with the layout of stuff. And the next 2 weeks are going to be really, really important. We know what CJ Stroud is. Hell, we might not even see him that much in preseason. We know what Stefon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell are capable of. We have no idea what this kickoff looks like. Frank Ross has never had to coach it. It is going to be a wild, wild, wild time. And fortunately, it's upon us, and it begins right now. Live reactions after training camp going to be right here, probably around 12:30 after I get back. Still going to have the nightly stream at 10:30. Going to crank up the mornings. We're going to start going live mornings as well, maybe between 9 and 10, sometime like that. Going to be covering all the practices. So I got you covered. Number one digital local product when it comes to the Houston Texans. And my goodness, man, used to be whenever they're doing kickoff drills, you go get you a drink of water and maybe mingle with the other media types or something like that. That ain't the case no more. This is must watch. This is some of the most anticipated, exciting, and perhaps important viewing that we will ever have when it comes to Texans training camp, or really any training camp. The NFL will never be the same. It'll be interesting to see what the Texans look like if Frank Ross continues to coach at the level that he's coached the last couple of years, and that would mean even more than it already has, and it's been an important part of what they do. Got you covered. You'll have every detail right here. Be on the lookout for the content in the morning and the afternoon, tomorrow after practice, 12:30, the live observations. Cody Stute's going to be riding along as well. Be on the lookout for his channel. We got you covered daily. It's about to get crazy. It's about to get fun. And always remember, no matter how crazy fun it gets, New kickoff rules, old kickoff rules. When it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thanks for coming in the locker room.
Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days.